A 24-year-old geologist vanished from a remote desert worksite. His Jeep Renegade was discovered weeks later in an isolated ravine, and his father's relentless pursuit has kept the mystery alive 4 years on. Daniel Robinson was born January 14th, 1997, in Columbia, South Carolina. He was 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighed about 165 pounds, and was born without his lower right forearm, a condition he never let limit his physically demanding fieldwork. He graduated with his honors in geology from the College of Charleston in 2017, where he also participated in a fraternity, showing an early balance of academic and social engagement. After college, he moved to Arizona for its abundant geological opportunities, joining Matrix New World in 2019 as a field geologist. His role required long drives across the Sonoran Desert to collect water resource and hydrogeology data. Coworkers described him as confident, sociable, and eager to challenge everything. Family was central to Daniel's identity. His father, David Robinson II, an Army veteran, has portrayed his son as adventurous, brilliant, and never backing down from a challenge. Their relationship was close enough that they'd often talk for 2 hours at a time. Following the disappearance, David launched a GoFundMe, appeared on NPR, and announced a congressional run in South Carolina to push for legislation granting families immediate access to phone records in emergencies. On the morning of June 23, 2021, a clear, sun-baked sky stretched over Buckeye, Arizona. Daniel, a 24-year-old hydrogeologist, was scheduled to start his shift just before 9 a.m. at a well site near Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road. Witnesses later recalled that he seemed off-kilter and spoke nonsensically before abruptly walking away from his crew. The Buckeye Police Department recorded his last sighting at about 9:45 a.m., heading west into the desert in his blue-gray 2017 Jeep Renegade. By that evening, around 7 p.m., his father realized Daniel had not checked in as usual and reported him missing. The department logged the case, entered him into the National Missing Persons database, and began an immediate ground search. Officers and volunteers combed the surrounding desert on June 23rd and 24th, contending with low scrub, rocky outcrops, and steep, unmaintained trails. On June 24th, investigators accessed the vehicle's Uconnect telematics system, but no GPS data was returned, suggesting the signal was blocked, the system disabled, or data erased. Simultaneously, attempts to ping Daniel's cell phone failed. A Phoenix Firebird helicopter overflew the area on June 25th, scanning a 10-mile radius without detecting heat signatures. The Civil Air Patrol conducted a low-altitude infrared sweep on July 9th, also yielding no leads. Detectives interviewed coworkers, friends, and a woman Daniel had met while delivering for Instacart. None saw any sign of suicidal intent. The investigation later uncovered that after the disappearance, someone accessed Daniel's laptop and, quote, fooling around on his computer, indicating an unauthorized digital intrusion. On July 19th, a rancher driving cattle discovered an overturned Jeep Renegade lodged in a steep desert ravine, less than 3 miles from the worksite. The airbags had deployed, and inside were Daniel's phone, wallet, keys, and clothing. The rancher testified he had not seen the vehicle on July 17th, suggesting the car was placed in the ravine only shortly before its discovery. Crash data downloaded on July 21st showed the odometer logged roughly 11 miles after the airbags deployed, far beyond the short stretch from the site to the ravine. Moreover, private investigator John McGrath counted at least 46 additional ignition cycles after the crash, an abnormal pattern that could indicate post-crash tampering. The case drew national attention, partly because of the stark contrast in media coverage compared with other missing person cases. NPR featured the family story alongside the Gabby Petito case, highlighting underrepresentation of Black missing persons. A GoFundMe page funded a private investigator, while the family's website, tip line, and social media outreach kept the story in the public eye. The recorded evidence left investigators with several puzzling facts. Why did the Jeep travel an additional 11 miles after the airbags deployed? What caused the ignition to be turned over 46 more times? Who accessed the vehicle or Daniel's belongings after the crash? What explains the red paint transfer suggesting a prior collision? The Buckeye Police maintain that no foul play was observed, but the family's private investigator continues to present new evidence that challenges that collusion. The police record the disappearance as a missing person case beginning on June 23, 2021, with Daniel last seen leaving his site in his Jeep. Ground searches, attempts to receive data, and aerial sweeps yield no trace of Daniel. The rancher later located the overturned Jeep, which showed no blood or obvious injuries. Crash analysis indicated a rollover with an increase in speed before impact, more than 40 ignition cycles after airbag deployment, and an 11-mile odometer discrepancy deemed not unusual by police. The family disputes the single vehicle accident narrative, so they hired Jeff McGrath, a retired officer and accident reconstruction specialist, who identified several inconsistencies. The additional 46 ignition cycles were deemed not unusual by the police. However, McGrath has called them not normal. Police dismissed the 11-mile variance in the odometer. McGrath argued the extra miles could only be explained if the Jeep was driven after the airbags deployed. McGrath found red paint on the front, suggesting a prior collision not mentioned in the police report. While police described a rollover, McGrath observed damage consistent with a head-on collision. Police implied the Jeep lay in the ravine for over 30 days, yet the rancher's testimony indicates it was placed only a day or two before discovery. McGrath's analysis concluded the Jeep was operable for roughly 11 miles after airbag deployment, implying post-crash movement by an unknown party. In addition to this, investigators later discovered an unauthorized individual had entered Daniel's Tempe apartment, ransacked his closet, and accessed his laptop, suggesting an attempt to locate or destroy digital evidence. The family criticized the police for a slow initial response. A request for a helicopter search was denied, with officers reportedly saying an adult is, quote, free to go missing if he wishes. Aside from the single car crash, police explored a suicide hypothesis, but friends and family refuted any indication of suicidal intent, attributing Daniel's, quote, strange behavior to exhaustion from late-night Instacart deliveries. Daniel's Instagram account was wiped clean a day or two before he vanished, which the family interprets as a deliberate act of erasure. David Robinson turned his personal quest into broader activism. He created a GoFundMe to fund private investigation, appeared on NPR and other media, and announced a congressional run to push for legislation granting families immediate access to phone records during emergencies. He also highlighted systematic media bias, noting that the Robinson case received far less coverage than comparable with white cases such as Gabby Petito. The family continues to call for an independent re-examination of the crash data, a thorough review of the red paint transfer evidence, full disclosure of all forensic reports, including post-crash ignition logs, and an audit of the digital intrusion into Daniel's apartment and devices. While the Buckeye Police maintain that no foul play was observed, the accumulation of anomalies, ignition cycles, odometer discrepancy, paint transfer, delayed vehicle discovery, and unauthorized digital access has led the family to argue that the official narrative remains incomplete or possibly misleading. Now, there are a few theories outside of the single car crash. First is voluntary disappearance. Some say Daniel may have just chose to up and leave. A few supporters to this theory point out the unusual behavior before his disappearance, such as deleting his Insta. However, his family says this is not possible as he was very close to them, especially his dad. Another theory that I personally believe is somewhat plausible is heat stroke. Daniel was out there every day in intense heat, and as an Arizona native myself, I know how quickly you can get dehydrated, and sometimes you don't even realize it. He could have wandered off in a state of heat stroke delirium, and after a crash, potentially just died due to exposure from the elements or even dangerous wildlife. I mean, a rattlesnake bite can kill you, especially if you have no access to medical help and no idea where you are. Another theory is a mental health crisis. Daniel's odd behavior, the nonsensical talking before his disappearance, has led some to believe he may have been experiencing a mental health crisis. I'm not saying what kind, potentially suicidal, potentially not. 24 is also the age where a lot of young men develop schizophrenia for the first time, so this could potentially have something to do with that. But there is, once again, no proof of this. The final theory is foul play. This is the theory that David Robinson, Daniel's dad, believes the most. The car was found with signs that someone had sustained relatively major injuries, along with his wallet, phone, and keys. If he was severely injured, how was he able to get out and walk far enough away from the Jeep that his body has never been found? Along with this, why was the Jeep driven for 11 miles after the airbags had deployed? I mean, if you've been in a major crash, you generally don't move the car, and usually you don't even want to. Along with this, where did the red paint come from? Was this a prior accident, maybe a minor one that Daniel just hadn't told his dad about? I mean, it's possible, but wouldn't somebody know of it? Anyways, I personally believe this and the dehydration slash heat stroke theory are the two most likely. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has participated in additional searches since 2021, including a February 2022 sweep where no new evidence was found. Ultimately, the divergence between the narrative of family and police underscores how a single missing person case can be interpreted in fundamentally different ways depending on which pieces of evidence are emphasized, how forensic data is analyzed, and what investigative resources are mobilized. As new information emerges, both the official record and the family's counter-narrative will continue to evolve, keeping Daniel Robinson's disappearance at the forefront of discussions about missing person investigations, evidentiary transparency, and the role of families seeking justice. Ultimately, I feel like only time will tell with this case. I mean, I want to point out there was a skeleton found in the area recently, however, it has been determined not to be Daniel Robinson's. Potentially his skeleton is still out there, just undiscovered, and maybe someone will just stumble upon it. Maybe one of the searches his father organizes will find his body, his skeleton, and we will know what happened to him. But until then, his father is going to keep on looking. He is going to keep advocating for his son. Also, a lot of people seem to think that the woman he started flirting with a few days before his disappearance could be involved. However, there's not really been any proof of that, and I don't want to drag an innocent woman's name through the mud if she has nothing to do with it, and I haven't seen any evidence to support otherwise. So just know that theory is out there, but I will not be divulging any information about her or why people may think this. You can easily find these theories online. If you were in or around Buckeye, Arizona in June of 2021, maybe you saw something. If you think you did, please reach out. You can go to WeTip and leave them an anonymous tip about what you think you know. Daniel Robinson is still out there, sadly, most likely not alive, and we need to find him. We need to give his family closure. This has been The Evidence Locker, written and hosted by me, Shay, and edited by my husband, Toby. Give us a follow and potentially a review if you are listening on a platform that allows that. I know that not all of them do. And hey, give us a comment. Let us know what other material you want from us. Do you want more unsolved cases? Do you want serial killers? Do you want solved? And give us case recommendations. I'm always looking forward to those. This has been the Evidence Locker. Stay curious, stay safe. See you next week as we open another locker.